Let me just lay them out. Intelligibility means what Don says in his chapter in Telling the Truth. He calls Worldview Evangelism. Don talks about Worldview Evangelism. What's Worldview Evangelism? Take a look at Acts 17 sometimes. And a lot of people look at Acts 17 as maybe even a failure of evangelism, because so many of us want to say, oh, if I'm going to preach the gospel, I've got to do the whole thing. I've got to tell people they're sinners and that Jesus died for them and they have to receive Christ, and here's the prayer. That way I know I got the whole gospel in. But with people who don't know what God means, what the word sin means, they don't have the intellectual framework, they don't have the worldview, they're going to be reading what you say through the salad shredders of their non-Christian worldview. They're going to absolutely misunderstand you if you go through it like that. Why are you still doing it if you know that? You're being a legalist of some kind. You need to slow down, and you need to lay in the groundwork. And in Acts chapter 17, actually, in the Areopagus address, Don points out that Paul actually lays out a biblical view of God and a biblical view of history, and he undercuts the whole idea of dualism, and he's creating a Christian worldview. Intelligibility means people have to clearly perceive what it is that you are giving them. In the early days of Redeemer, again, I remember so often I would see people who I thought had become Christians, who I baptized. And as soon as a sexual partner came along that they were, looking for all their lives, they just bailed. And I said, wait a minute. And I began to realize that if your worldview is this, truth is whatever works for me. When people say, well, if it's true for you, then it's true for you. But if it's true for me, then it's true for me. And what's true for me might not be true for you. Whenever you hear people say that, you say, come on, you don't really believe that. What idiot would really believe something like that? But you know what? A lot of people really do believe this. And I found that when I told people Christ is the truth, they read that through their worldview. And what that meant was, this will work for me. And whenever it stopped working, whenever being a Christian was really, really hard, they bailed. It wasn't true for them anymore. And even though I had shared the gospel with them, there had not been a power encounter at the worldview level. So I had skipped intelligibility.